Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today we're diving deep into Morton's Neuroma, and I think a lot of people, especially women, might be dealing with this without even realizing it.
Oh, absolutely. And the name can be a little intimidating, but
Yeah, neuroma sounds scary, right? Like some kind of tumor growing in your foot.
right, exactly. But it's not a tumor at all.
So what is it then?
It's actually a thickening of the tissues surrounding the nerve, most often between the third and fourth toes.
Okay, so kind of like a pinched nerve, but in your foot.
Yeah, you got it. That's a great way to put it.
Ouch. I can imagine that wouldn't feel very good.
Oh, definitely not. And you know what?
What?
Women are way more likely to experience Morton's neuroma than men.
Really? Why is that? I mean, are our feet just inherently more prone to problems?
Well, it's not really about the structure of women's feet being different. A lot of it comes down to, you guessed it.
Shoes.
Exactly. Shoes, especially the kinds that women are often encouraged to wear.
Oh yeah, like high heels.
Uh-huh. High heels can be a major culprit. Think about it. They force your toes into a cramped position, push your weight forward onto the ball of the foot.
And that's where the neuroma usually develops, right?
Right. On the money. So all that pressure from those stylish shoes, it ends up squeezing those nerves and irritating the surrounding tissues.
So basically, fashion over function can have some serious consequences for our feet.
You said it, but let's break down why high heels are such a problem, mechanically speaking.
Okay, I'm all ears.
So high heels actually change the angle of your metatarsals. Those are the bones in your foot that lead to your toes. And this change in angle, it concentrates pressure on a very specific area, right where that neuroma tends to develop.
Wow, that makes a lot of sense. So it's not just about the height of the heel, but the whole way it changes the mechanics of our feet.
Exactly.
So I guess it's not just stilettos that are a problem. What about other types of shoes? Are there any other styles that women should watch out for?
Oh, absolutely. Any shoe that really squeezes your toes together or doesn't give you good arch support can contribute to this.
Like those super pointy-toed flats that were popular a few years ago.
Yes, those are a prime example. They might look cute, but they offer very little in terms of support.
And I bet some boots could be problematic too, right? Especially if they're tight around the toes.
You're catching on. It's all about how much space your toes have to move around freely.
So it's not just about avoiding pain right now, but preventing long-term damage.
Exactly. Prolonged compression on those nerves can lead to chronic pain, even mobility issues down the road, and nobody wants that.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
So we've talked about what to avoid. Let's shift gears now. What about shoes that can actually help prevent or manage Morton's neuroma?
Okay, so when you're shopping for shoes, the key features to look for are a wide toe box, good cushioning in the soles, and excellent arch support.
Got it. So basically, enough room for your toes to wiggle, something to absorb the impact of each step, and support to keep your foot in proper alignment.
You got it. It's all about giving your feet the space and support they need to function properly.
So any specific shoe recommendations? Are there brands that are particularly good for this?
Definitely. For instance, Hoka 11, their Bondi 7 model, it's known for its amazing cushioning and a really roomy toe box.
Oh, Hokas.
Yeah.
I've heard runners rave about those.
Yeah, people say they feel like you're walking on clouds. Great for anyone who needs that extra support, but of course not everyone is a runner, and sometimes you want something a little more stylish for everyday wear.
Right. So what about those of us who want comfort and support without looking like we're headed to the gym?
Well, for more everyday styles, Dansko and Orthofeet are great brands to check out. They offer everything from sandals to Mary Janes, all with a focus on comfort and support.
Oh, I love Danskos. I have a pair of their clogs that I practically live in.
Yeah, they're a classic for a reason. And then there's Propit, too. They seem to be popping up everywhere in our research.
No, I was thinking the same thing. They have such a wide variety of styles. It seems like there's something for everyone.
Right. They've got the Tour Walker, which is great for, well, touring and walking, the Stability Strive Mid if you want something a little sportier looking, and the Life Walker, which is more for everyday wear.
Wow, so many options. I love that. It's great to know that you don't have to sacrifice style for comfort.
Exactly. And that's really the message you want to get across today. You can have both. You can prioritize your foot health and still rock a stylish look.
I'm all about that. Okay, so we've covered the best and worst shoes for Morton's neuroma, but what about those who are already experiencing pain? Is it all about changing your shoes, or are there other things that can help?
Well, shoes are definitely a critical first step, but there are other strategies to help manage the pain and inflammation.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
So sometimes corticosteroid injections are used to reduce the inflammation around the nerve.
Ah, so that's like a more direct approach to target the inflammation.
Exactly. And they can provide temporary relief, but, it's not a permanent solution.
Got it. It's like a quick fix, but not a cure.
Right. And for more lasting relief, custom orthotics can be really helpful. Those are the inserts you put in your shoes. They're like giving your feet.
A personalized hug.
I love that. They really do cradle your foot and provide that extra bit of support that you need.
Okay, that sounds great. But I got to ask, what about surgery? Is that ever an option for Morton's neuroma?
You know, in severe cases where other treatments haven't been successful, surgery might be considered, but
But it's not a decision to take lightly.
exactly. Any surgery comes with risks, and it's important to weigh those carefully. The most important thing is to consult with a healthcare professional, preferably a podiatrist. They can accurately diagnose the condition and recommend the best course of treatment for your individual needs.
That makes perfect sense. It's always best to get expert advice when it comes to your health. And speaking of expert advice, we're going to delve even deeper into the mechanics of Morton's neuroma after a quick break. We'll be back soon with more insights and tips to help you keep your feet happy and healthy.
It's kind of crazy how something as simple as a shoe can have such a big impact on our health, especially for women.
Totally. We can get so caught up in the latest trends that we forget about what's good for our bodies.
Yeah, it's easy to forget that our feet are, well, pretty important. And with Morton's neuroma, it's not just the heel height that's a problem, it's the shape of the shoe, too.
Like those pointy toes.
Ugh, yeah, those are a recipe for disaster. Squeezing all your toes together like that, it puts even more pressure on those already irritated nerves.
So it's like a double whammy of bad design. I'm curious what's actually happening inside the foot when we wear those kinds of shoes.
Okay, so imagine this. You have this ligament, the transverse metatarsal ligament. It runs across the ball of your foot. And when you wear those tight, pointy shoes, it compresses that ligament.
Okay, I'm picturing it. And what does that do to the nerves?
Well, the nerves pass right underneath that ligament, so all that constant pressure, it starts to irritate them, and that leads to inflammation and pain.
So it's like the ligament is trapping the nerves, and the shoes are making it worse.
You got it. And over time, all that chronic irritation can actually cause the nerve to thicken, and that's what we call Morton's neuroma.
Uh-huh. Okay, that makes sense. So that's why having a wide toe box is so important.
Yeah.
It's all about giving those nerves some breathing room, right?
Exactly. And it's not just the width of the shoe either. The material matters too. Stiff, inflexible soles. Those can make things worse because they prevent your foot from moving naturally.
Right, your foot needs to be able to bend and flex. So
Yeah.
we want shoes that kind of mimic that natural movement of the foot, but still provide support. It makes me realize how complex our feet actually are.
Oh, they are incredibly complex. Each part of your foot has a role to play in how you walk, run, and just stay balanced. So when one part is out of whack, it can throw everything off.
That reminds me of pronation, how your foot rolls inward when you walk or run. Does that play a role in Morton's neuroma at all?
It can, definitely. Overpronation, that's when your foot rolls inward too much. It can put a lot of strain on the arch and the ball of your foot. And that extra strain, it can contribute to nerve compression, which is why good arch support is so important, especially if you tend to overpronate.
So it's like having a personalized support system for your feet, making sure they move the way they're supposed to.
Precisely. And the right shoes can provide that support and help to prevent or manage a whole bunch of foot problems, Morton's neuroma included.
Okay, we've talked a lot about the physical aspects of Morton's neuroma, but I want to touch on something else, the emotional side of things. Because dealing with chronic foot pain, that can't be easy.
Oh, you're absolutely right. Chronic pain can be so frustrating. It can affect your mood, your self-esteem, even your ability to do the things you love.
Exactly. Like imagine having to give up hiking or dancing because your feet hurt too much.
Exactly. It's not just about the physical discomfort, it affects your whole life. And that's why it's so important to find solutions that address both the physical and the emotional aspects.
And it's important to know that you're not alone in this. So many women are dealing with this, and there are resources to help.
That's a really important point. There's a whole community out there who understands what you're going through. One of our sources mentioned that nearly 80% of people with Morton's neuroma find relief through conservative treatments like shoe modifications and orthotics.
Wow, that's a really encouraging statistic.
Yeah.
It shows that making changes to your footwear can make a big difference.
Right. So before considering more drastic measures like injections or surgery, it's definitely worth exploring those options first.
Absolutely. And even if you do end up needing those other treatments, wearing supportive shoes can still be a huge part of your recovery and help prevent problems in the future.
Exactly. It's never too late to start prioritizing your foot health. Even if you're not in pain right now, making good choices about your shoes can really pay off in the long run.
Totally agree. Okay, so we've talked about shoes, 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 but there's another aspect we haven't touched on yet. Misdiagnosis. I mean, could Morton's neuroma be mistaken for something else?
Oh, absolutely. The symptoms can be similar to other foot conditions like metatarsalgia or plantar fasciitis. That's why it's so crucial to see a healthcare professional for a proper diagnosis.
So what are some red flags that might point specifically to Morton's neuroma?
Well, the classic symptom is a burning, tingling, or numb sensation between the toes. Often it comes with pain that's worse when you're wearing shoes.
Ouch, not fun. And does the pain stay in one spot or does it spread?
It can radiate, yeah. Sometimes the pain shoots into the toes or even up into the arch of the foot. Some people describe it as feeling like they're walking on a pebble.
Okay, so if you're experiencing any of that, it's definitely a sign to see a podiatrist.
For sure. Early diagnosis and treatment are key to preventing things from getting worse.
Solid advice. So to recap, we've talked about how Morton's neuroma works, what kinds of shoes can make it better or worse, the emotional impact it can have, and the importance of getting a proper diagnosis.
And we've emphasized that there are solutions out there, from supportive shoes to orthotics to medical treatments.
Right. But before we wrap up this whole deep dive, I want to circle back to something you mentioned earlier about, how footwear choices can be tied to societal pressures, especially for women.
Ah, you mean the whole idea that women are expected to prioritize fashion over comfort?
Yeah. It's almost like we've been told that pain is just part of looking good, but that's kind of a messed up message, isn't it?
It is, for sure. It makes people think that discomfort is normal and that they shouldn't seek help when they need it.
So how do we change that? How do we create a culture where women can prioritize their foot health without sacrificing their style?
Well, it starts with awareness, talking about these issues openly and challenging those old norms,
Hmm.
and advocating for more foot-friendly fashion options, too.
Yes. We need to start a conversation and make foot health a priority, not just for ourselves, but for everyone.
Exactly. We need a world where comfort and style can coexist.
Love that.
Heh.
And on that note, I think it's time for our final thoughts and takeaways from this deep dive into Morton's neuroma.
Sounds good. I'm interested to hear your biggest takeaways and offer any additional insights that might be helpful for our listeners.
So where do we go from here? What should our listeners be thinking about after this deep dive into Morton's neuroma?
Well, I hope the main takeaway is that you have choices when it comes to your foot health.
Right. It's not about being stuck with painful shoes or just accepting the pain.
Exactly. Start paying attention to how your feet feel, what shoes make them happy, what makes them hurt. Don't be afraid to try different brands, different styles, until you find that perfect fit.
It's like a treasure hunt for happy feet. And it's okay to put comfort first, sometimes even ahead of fashion. Trust me, your feet will thank you for it later.
Absolutely. And if you are dealing with pain, don't just ignore it. Talk to a doctor, a podiatrist. There are so many options out there, from simple things to more involved treatments. Someone can help you find the right solution.
Makes sense. Catching it early is always better, right?
Definitely. It can keep a small problem from turning into a chronic one. And, even if you do need medical help, the right shoes are still crucial. They can support your recovery and help prevent future problems.
Thinking back on everything we've discussed, what really struck me was the emotional side of Morton's neuroma. It's not just the physical pain, it's how it impacts your whole life.
That's such a critical point. Chronic pain can be so isolating. It can affect your mood, how you feel about yourself, even your ability to do the things you love.
And it's easy to feel alone in that struggle. But the truth is, so many women are going through this. There's a community out there, people who understand.
Absolutely. Don't be afraid to connect with others, share your experiences. It can make a huge difference. And, we need to keep talking about this. Challenge those old-fashioned ideas that pain is just part of being fashionable, especially for women.
Right? It's time to create a culture where women can put their foot health first without feeling like they have to sacrifice style.
It's about awareness, it's about having options, and it's about changing the conversation.
I love that. So we've covered a lot today, from the basics of Morton's neuroma to prevention and treatment, even talked about the emotional impact and societal pressures. I hope our listeners feel like they have a better understanding and, most importantly, that they feel empowered to take care of their feet.
That's what we want, to give people the knowledge and the encouragement to advocate for their own well-being.
Well said. So, as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the one message you want our listeners to take away?
Simple. Your feet are your foundation. Listen to them, take care of them, and don't hesitate to seek help when you need it.
Perfect advice. Thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your expertise.
My pleasure.
And to all of you listening, thank you for being here. We hope this deep dive has been helpful. Until next time, take care and walk well.